Monday, the 13th of March at 6:43 p.m. And oh my gosh, I have just finished this book. Let's put it on the screen. What to Say Next by Julie Buxbaum. Oh my goodness, what a way to start this reading vlog. I feel incredibly raw and incredibly emotional right now. And while I'm not crying, I feel like if the book was a couple of chapters longer, I would be. It has been a long time since a book has impacted me this much. So let's discuss the book. So yeah, I started it today and I finished it today. It's part of this week's reading vlog. So let's just, as real and raw as this is, I just finished it and I've come right on here to discuss it with you. So let's begin this week's reading vlog. All right, so What to Say Next is a YA contemporary written by Julie Buxbaum. This is my second Julie Buxbaum book that I've read since reading Tell Me Three Things last month, and that was a book that I loved as well, but I have to say I do prefer this one. In this book, we follow two people. It's a dual perspective. We follow David and Kit. David is someone who is what we now call on the spectrum. So David believes that he more clinically has Asperger's, and in the DSM-4, Asperger's was listed, however, and David's incredibly smart, so one thing that he likes to do for fun is read the DSM, but in the DSM-5, Asperger's is no longer recognised, and it's just referred to as part of autism, but David is convinced that's what he has, is Asperger's. And we don't really work this out right away, but I wanted to tell you this because I think it is a big part of the heart that sits within the soul, if that is possible, of this book. So keeping that in mind, David is a high school boy. He has diagnosed himself as having Asperger's, and he is struggling to live with this condition. When we first meet him, he is sitting alone at lunch in the school cafeteria, which is the same thing that happens every single day. And then suddenly this girl by the name of Kit walks over and sits opposite him. David does not know how to respond because no one acknowledges him. We learn more about David as we go throughout the course of the book. He's gone through some traumatic experiences at the high school. I think he's now either 1 year away from graduating or he's in his final year of high school. So it's definitely, both David and Kit are seniors. But anyway, that's getting a bit technical. So when he first began at the high school, bullies are bullies, and yeah, high school can be a very traumatic experience for a lot of people. It certainly was for me. Whilst I didn't go to high school with a condition per se, it was very obvious to anyone who met me that I was gay, and it was obvious to everyone before I even knew that I was, and I went through a lot of tough times because of that. I don't talk about this on this channel because it's not relevant to reading, but it relates to David going through a lot of bullying in this book. So I can understand from my own perspective, from what I've gone through experiencing bullying, how he went through this whole once bitten, twice shy situation. But anyway, so he suddenly just accepts that he is going to be alone at school, and he has finally gotten to the point now, many years later, after all the traumatic experiences that he used to have when he was first in high school, that this is just the way it is, and he's fine with it. So then when Kit comes over to sit next to him, he is very much surprised that she has taken this moment to go and sit next to him. And she just says, look, sorry, but I can't sit with my friends right now. I just need to deal. And David, because of his condition, he is incredibly honest. That's just how he is. He has no filter. And he says to her as a statement rather than a question, so your dad died. And she says, yes, he did. So we find out from the moment we meet her that Kit is struggling with the loss of her father. We find out a lot more about both of them as the story does progress, and there are spoilers that I don't want to give away, but we find out that no death is simple, and so I'm not trying to simplify any experience of any death. But when we look at a situation of how someone dies, if we are to look at it objectively, sometimes, at least clinically, it can be deemed as this happened and therefore it resulted in death. I don't want to go into any examples in case that affects anyone in any different way, but I'm making that point because we find out the more we go throughout this book that there is so much more to Kit's father's death than we know. And so, yeah, it becomes a much bigger deal than it was to begin with. This is not hard to explain, it just sounds like it is. But anyway, I guess I'm just still dealing with the emotion of it all. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I feel very emotional about this. So, goodness me. I'm trying not to let it affect me too much as I try to talk to you. Okay, so Kit and David, after lunch, they end up going into class. They have pretty much all of their classes together. And Kit ends up walking out of the class because she just needs to be alone, and David decides that he is going to follow her, and when he does, he finds her crying and basically offers to be an ear for her to just speak her mind. And they form this friendship where it's different to anything else that either of them have experienced. For David, having company that he never had, well, not never had, but that he hasn't experienced in such a long time at high school. And for Kit, being around someone who is so different to the clique that she normally hangs around with, because Kit has described and does many times describe early on in the book how the clique that she's a part of, she feels like she can't discuss her father's death with them because they wouldn't understand, and because she doesn't say they are fake, but it comes across that way. Like, there are certain expectations with how you behave, things you say, things you don't say, things like that. So what she gets out of this dynamic between herself and David is that she doesn't have to filter herself. She can just speak her mind and take comfort from basically talking to a stranger. And things do develop from there. This book was so incredibly well done. I am not someone who has a lot of experience with autism, but Julie Buxbaum has done a lot of research into autism and Asperger's, and it does come across really well in the story, but not to the point where it's exposition. She shows rather than tells, and I appreciate that. It is interwoven into the book incredibly masterfully. At the end of the book, Julie Buxbaum has an author's note, and she says, I shouldn't say this, but of the 5 books I've written, 4 that I have published so far, and 1 that will remain hidden in my drawer. Let me tell you, I want to read the book that's remained hidden in her drawer. But anyway, this would have to be my favorite because of many different reasons. And I feel this. I don't want to say that I prefer this over Tell Me 3 Things, because I loved Tell Me 3 Things a lot, but this is probably going to be my favorite contemporary that I've read. And that is saying something, because I have incredibly high praise for Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. And I read that in 2020, and to this day was my favorite contemporary prior to going into what to say next. But now I think this is. And I really do want to read a lot more Julie Buxbaum in the future. Okay, I've probably taken up way too much of your time already in this reading vlog by giving you all these thoughts, but as I say, I just finished the book and came right in here to explain my thoughts to you. So there you go. You get an unfiltered view of what's going on in my mind literally seconds after I've finished the book. So let's now discuss what the plan is going to be for the rest of this week, if I can somehow hold off from bursting into tears because I feel like I'm moments away from doing that. To look forward and see what it is that I plan to read for the rest of the week. Okay, so let's put The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson up on the screen. I am listening to the graphic audiobook version of this book, and I am up to part 2 of 3 in this book. I think I'm about an hour in. Good news with having finished What to Say Next, I actually planned to read this over the course of tomorrow, which is Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So now, tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, I will just be focusing on, it'll give me time to focus on Well of Ascension, which is good because I'm not even halfway yet. So I need that time, and I'm glad I have that time. Once I get to Friday, I'm going to be picking up this book, Amina's Song by Henna. Is that her name? Yes, Henna Khan, and that is the second and final book in the Amina's, I said Amina, didn't I? I'm going to pick up Amina's Song, which is the second and final book in the Amina's Voice, duology, which will help me to cross that duology off of my SAS list. But a bit of an emotional Mr. Francy at the beginning of this week's reading vlog, not always a bad thing. And if you've made it this far so far, let me know in the comments section below of a book that made you emotional and why it did in a spoiler-free way. All right, let's keep going. And next time you hear from me, you'll hear hopefully me being less emotional and telling you more about Well of Ascension. It is Friday, the 17th of March at 5:59 p.m, just about to hit 6 o'clock, and it's time for my next reading vlog update. Before we jump into what I have been reading, just a quick little update, life update, I guess you could say, from me. This has been a tough week for me physically and health-wise. I have been under the weather for most of this week, and this is the first time since I started my new job where I have not been at work for the entire week. So the way this kind of worked out was that I had already booked annual leave for Monday, and then on Tuesday, I just woke up feeling absolutely horrible physically. So I took the day off, went and got a medical certificate that covered me for 2 days, and was told to just keep an eye on what was going on. I was a bit scared because I didn't exactly know what was going on. I don't want to go into too much detail here about that, but yeah, just making the point, I was. And yeah, it was just a really weird time for me. So Wednesday came around, and on Tuesday night, I really wanted to, Wednesday night came around, and I was really looking forward to getting back to work on Thursday. Woke up on Thursday and I was extremely dizzy. So I ended up making another doctor's appointment and getting another medical certificate that covered me for Thursday and Friday. And here we are. So I'm hoping I'm good to go on Monday and that I can go back to work. Now, I've been saying in the past how I don't read that much during the week because I'm so exhausted by the time I'm done with work at the end of the day. So how much reading have I actually done? Well, I've done a decent amount of reading this week, but, you know, being sick, I'm already exhausted. So I haven't actually read a lot this week. In fact, I took 2 whole days off of reading, which is so not like me. It is rare for me to take 1 day of reading off. But I decided not to read on Tuesday. I did read on Wednesday, decided not to read on Thursday, and I did read today. But there you go. There's your update. Oh, yeah. So long story short, in case anyone's freaking out, I should be fine. The doctors suspect it's just a virus. And so hopefully things will be good to go on Monday, and we'll see how we go. I already feel a lot more comfortable now than I did throughout the course of the week, so everything should be fine. I will certainly keep you up to date tomorrow and next week as well as to how things go there. But anyway, thank you for what I'm sure is a lot of love that you're sending my way. I appreciate it. Everything should be fine. All right, let's move on to Well of Ascension. Let's put up on the screen The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, a Mistborn novel. I love this edition that you can see on your screen of Well of Ascension. This is the Tor Publishing edition, and oh my gosh, I've been in love with them ever since I first saw them, which was on video. And I'm so happy that I do have them. I've considered taking out book insurance. I was discussing it with my mum. And I said the first 3 books that I would want to insure would be The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, because I don't know if Tor still even publish these editions anymore. So there you go. Anyway, I have moved on to part 3 of 3 on the graphic audio version. And in the physical book edition, I'm up to chapter 43, which is page 526 out of... oh my gosh, a good 756 pages. So, yeah, you do the math. I'm too exhausted to do it right now. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this book, and are we surprised? It's not only is it Brandon Sanderson, but it's Mistborn Era 1. I love that trilogy so much. So, yeah, really, really, really enjoying the reread, and also looking forward to not only finishing this, but picking up Hero of Ages. I suspect if things go back to normal for me health-wise next week that I will spend a lot of time on Well of Ascension, so I may have it done next week, but if I don't, we still have one more week to go and I'll have it finished by then. But yeah, this has basically become an all-month read for me, and I'm enjoying it to this point. So that was my Wednesday update. As I said, I did not read on Tuesday, and then today... and I didn't read on Thursday. And then today I picked up this book, Amina's Song. Sorry, no, I did it again. Amina's Song by Henna Khan. So this is book number 2 in the Amina's Voice duology, and I have now finished that duology and can cross it off on my SAS list. I can't believe I haven't done that yet. I've already started my next book, so you're getting a live reaction from me going, how the heck have I not crossed this off of the SAS list yet? But anyway, so this is a middle grade contemporary book, as is book number 1, and I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. While I struggled at the beginning of book number 1, I really enjoyed this book from start to end. Literally from the first sentence, I was hooked, and then, yeah, that state of mind of feeling incredibly hooked into this book continued all the way through to the end, and all I could think once I got to the end was, oh my gosh, seriously, Henna Khan, you need to make it a trilogy and just release another one. I mean, heck, make it an 8-book series and I'll just keep going. I'll read all 8 of them if you do. But I don't believe Henna Khan plans to write any more books in this duology. She has written many others, and I certainly would not say no to picking up another one of her books. So in this one, we continue to follow Amina, who is, I think I said Arabian with book 1, but we learn more specifically where she's from in this book. So she is a Pakistani Muslim, and this book opens up with her in Pakistan. So in book 1, we find out that she is, she's not American, but she lives in America. And in book 2, we find out specifically she's from Pakistan. And she struggles with certain things here and there, and we learn about certain differences between American culture and Pakistani / as well as Muslim culture. And so I appreciated it on that front, book 1, but I felt like we didn't go into enough information about the Muslim side of things in book number 1. In this one, we open up in Pakistan, and it's important for you to know that because Amina is born and raised in America. She loves her culture, but she has not been to Pakistan. She has not seen her family in Pakistan ever. So she's over there for the first time and experiencing it. And in chapter 1, she's already there and she's absolutely loving it. And I loved the culture. I loved getting to know things about Pakistan that I didn't know, whilst also reliving certain things that I am aware of. For example, like marketplaces that they have there and the bartering that goes on there. I was already aware of that, and I saw that play out in at the beginning of this book, and I loved seeing that. But there were other things that I wasn't aware of, like chai time. Apparently there is a time of day where you're meant to sit down and have chai tea. I love this. I want to implement this in my life. Can I just sit down with a chai tea at whatever hour I'm meant to sit down at? It would not at all be a religious or cultural thing for me. It'd just be something that I would love to do because I love my chais. But anyway, yeah, so many things that I loved. And then when she left Pakistan, because life goes on in the US, as does her schooling, so she has to go home, and she leaves within the first sixth of the book, her uncle says to her, Amina, can you do me a favor and do everything you can to show Americans just how beautiful Pakistan is. She loves her uncle, so she decides to take this incredibly seriously and goes back to school and is doing what she can to show America just how beautiful Pakistan is. There's a lot of different things that do occur throughout the course of this book to do with cultural references to Pakistan, as well as cultural references to the Muslim faith, and I found that very interesting. I certainly felt like it was handled a lot better than it was in book one. As I said, this one also entertained me from start to end. Amina wants to sing. She's always wanted to, and so we spend a lot of the book with her internally thinking about how much she wants to sing and be a singer. And she also at one point joins the drama club, and I loved drama when I was in high school, and so this very much intrigued me as well. So even the side stuff that had nothing to do with the Pakistan cultural references or the Muslim faith references, I was enjoying anyway. And at one point in the book, she meets someone, and oh my goodness, I've forgotten what his name is, but this boy that she becomes a friend of, they're not in a romantic relationship, they just become friends, who she's never met before, he's Egyptian. So I appreciated that that was introduced as well. I love this duology as a whole so much. It was a rough start for me in book one, but overall I thought it was fantastic. If any of what I've said so far interests you, then I do recommend picking up the series. It's middle grade, it is very easy and quick to get through, and you will gain some wonderful knowledge about Pakistan as well as Muslim culture. So yeah, it was very interesting, and I do not regret picking it up for a second. Now, the ending of the book I found to be incredibly heartfelt, and it motivated me to break my TBR and pick up another book. A book that was not on my TBR. I was so inspired by the Pakistani/Muslim culture, and one of the lessons that we learn in this book is that the media can say a lot of different things, and that gets integrated into our minds, and we just think that this is how things are because this is what the media is saying without actually doing our research. One of my favorite lines in the film Legally Blonde is when one of the professors say in her class, I think we should sharply question what we know. And that is something that I have always prided myself in doing. I always sharply questioned things, but I never did when it came to the Muslim faith, and I've come to regret that, and I feel like this duology has helped me open my eyes. So what this actually inspired me to do was to pick up a book that would hit a little closer to home for me, and that was, I gave myself a challenge to find an LGBTIQ plus book that deals with the Muslim religion, and I came across this book, How It All Blew Up by Arvin Ahmadi. So I'm not that far into this book at all. I don't have a physical copy of it. I am listening to it on audiobook, as I do with all my books, but I have a physical copy on the way. All I know about it, so from what I've read so far, is that we're following this boy. It's a YA, LGBTIQ+. So we're following this YA aged boy who at the beginning of it's kind of one of those situations where something has happened in the future in chapter 1, and then you have to go back to the past to work out what the heck is going on. And at the very beginning of the book, this boy and his parents were caught fighting, arguing on a plane. That caused a disturbance, and because they are Muslims, the three of them were arrested and detained, and at the moment the boy is trying to explain it actually had nothing to do with what you're thinking. You know, we're not terrorists or anything like that. It's not even anything to do with arguing about the religion itself. they have a they have an issue with the fact that I'm gay, and let's talk about that. So he's now going back to explain to these people who have detained him what got he and his parents to that point where they were having this argument on the plane, which is exactly what I want. I don't know how much I want to explore any type of a relationship that he might have been in with some other guy, which I do normally love with my LGBTQ plus books. I more am interested in seeing the cultural dynamics that occur throughout the course of this book when it comes to the Muslim faith and someone who is gay. That's the purpose of the reason why I'm reading the book. So I'm intrigued to see what led to the argument and, what's going on with all that. So that will be interesting to see. So yeah, I have about 4 hours and 20 minutes left of this audiobook. I plan to continue on with it tomorrow. And then, if I have time, I will pick up this book, A Plus One for Murder by Laura Bradford. I originally planned to read A Plus One for Murder by Laura Bradford on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. But if I can get it done earlier, it will save me time. All right. This was a long check-in, but I had a lot to say, so forgive me, and I'll check in with you all one more time tomorrow to wrap up the week. Happy reading! It is Saturday, time to wrap up the weekly reading vlog, and let us put up How It All Blew Up by Arvin Ahmadi up on the screen. I have finished this book and I gave it 5 stars. Honestly, this was a great book to read. It did give me what I wanted, although to be honest, I wish I could have gotten a little more. As I was saying in my last clip, I wanted to experience more regarding the LGBTIQ plus community, in association with the Muslim faith, and we get some of that in this book, but not a lot. So that was a little bit annoying, but the book for what it was a great book, and I gave it 5 stars. It absolutely deserved it. It was a whole, I kind of want to say a lot of fun, but anyway, but it's, it's in a way, a hard-hitting contemporary, so I don't know if fun's the right word, but I liked the book a lot. It reminded me a little bit of Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. In a way, imagine that situation. If you haven't read Eat, Pray, Love, it follows this woman. She goes through something horrible, and because of that, she ends up traveling to 3 separate destinations. One of the destinations she ends up traveling to is Italy, and in this book, our protagonist, whose name is Amir, ends up traveling to Italy as well, owing to a situation. So in that way, just in that minor way, it gave me Eat, Pray, Love vibes, and as I say, I enjoyed it for what it was. This book is part interrogation, part plot, and also deals with then and now, and is also multi-perspective, although the main character is clearly Amir. So, yeah, very quickly, there's I've already explained this, so I'll keep it again very quick. Amir and his parents, he also has a sister. I found this out after I'd given you the latest update, but Amir and his parents and sister are on a plane. There's a disturbance, so the 4 of them, because they look like stereotypical Muslims, I guess, are detained and interrogated, and there is a whole lot more to the story than meets the eye, and Amir starts to explain that he was blackmailed by these bullies at school who had found him kissing one of the jock guys. They took a photo of him and they were blackmailing him to give them $1,000 or they will expose this image to his parents on his graduation day. And being Muslim, there's nothing worse for Amir than for his parents to find out that he is gay. So he ends up running away to Italy, and things ensue from there, all leading up to this big disturbance that occurs on the plane that leads to the interrogation. I loved it. I thought the author Arvin Ahmadi did an amazing job. I did some research on Arvin Ahmadi because I didn't know a lot about him at all going into the book. And I did find out this is Own Voices. Arvan Ahmadi grew up being, I think, Persian, don't quote me on that, but I think it was Persian, but definitely Muslim and definitely gay. So he went through those struggles of being a gay Muslim and how to deal with that with his family and everything else. And so I do love that it is Own Voices and that I got to experience that. I would love to read more of Arvan Ahmadi's work if I do get, Arvin Ahmadi's work if I do get an opportunity to do so, because I did love this one. The only thing I didn't like, and I won't tell you what it is, but I won't tell you the spoiler of what it is, but I can tell you as a generalization, the last sentence left things hanging open-ended, and this is a standalone with no view to make it a duology, let alone a series. So I'm just not a fan of that. I want you, the author, to end the book for me. I'm not someone who likes to sit there and go, oh, let me imagine how this ended up transpiring after the book was over. No, I don't like that. I like the book to come to a proper end. And this book, the way it left that last sentence, everything was good until the last sentence, but the last sentence left it open-ended, and that got to me. So there you go. But otherwise, 5 stars. I'm not taking the ending out on the author or the book at all because I did enjoy it. And I do recommend it. If you want to open up your eyes to something like this, an LGBTIQ plus Muslim contemporary, because it's not a romance, it's a YA LGBTIQ plus contemporary. So if you want to open up your eyes to that and give it a go, I do recommend it. I thought it was good. So after I finished that, I picked up this book, A Plus One for Murder by Laura Bradford. This is book 1 in the Friend for Hire series. I am 5 chapters in. I'm up to chapter 6. And so far, it is exactly as the series says that it is. It is called the Friend for Hire series, and in the first 5 chapters, we are following this woman who I need to remember her name. Emma, she was running a travel agency, but the travel agency wasn't going well, and she was failing at it, and wasn't going well. So, she is I guess you could call her a caretaker in a way to this elderly woman who she would always go and have tea with her every Tuesday at a certain time. And this elderly woman finally got out of Emma what was going on in her profession, and she doesn't want to leave the state and go home. So the elderly woman, who's, I do not remember her name, I think it was like Poppy or something, ends up recommending that she open a business called Friend for Hire so that she can continue to do what she was doing with this elderly woman. People can hire her to be their friend and go and do things with her as a friend. And I knew this before I went into the book, but with cozies, you never know how much of the cozy aspect is going to occur in the book. You can have something like the Coffee House Mystery Series by Cleo Coyle, which is coffee to the umpteenth degree. Christmas Tree Farm Mystery Series, which is Christmas to the umpteenth degree. And then you can have other cozies where, like the Nantucket Candlemaker Mystery Series, where not a lot of candle making goes on at all. So I had no idea how much I was going to get out of this, but so far it has been very much dominated by the cozy side of her starting to run this new business of being a friend for hire. And I'm really enjoying that. So one of the guys that ends up hiring her, he's going to say like a poem or something, and he wants her to be there to basically applaud at the end because he knows a lot of people are not going to like his poem at all. So she decides to go along, take the job, and right as he's getting towards the end of his poem, he dies, and it seems more suspicious than natural causes. So I'm assuming Emma is now going to try and work out what's going on. We haven't gotten to that point yet where she's gotten the amateur sleuth bug just yet, but I'm enjoying it. I'm really loving it so far, and I will continue on with this tomorrow. Now, as we are wrapping things up, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm continuing on with Well of Ascension. I have not read any more of the book yet, and I probably won't tomorrow either, but that's that. I did read What to Say Next, and I gave that 5 stars. I believe I gave it 5 stars. It's funny now, I feel like I need to actually check what I gave that. What to Say Next, I gave, yes, 5 stars, and I read Amina's song, which I gave 5 stars to as well, and then How It All Blew Up, and I gave that 5 stars as well. So it's been a really good week for me. So the plan moving forward is that I plan to read A Plus One for Murder by Laura Bradford. I'd like to have that finished tomorrow if I can. That will really open up the week because my schedule originally for this week was that I was going to be finishing Amina's song tomorrow, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was going to be A Plus One for Murder. So if I can finish that tomorrow, then I can have up until Wednesday to read Well of Ascension, and then on Thursday and Friday and Saturday I'm going to be focusing on Nate Plus One by Kevin Van Wy, one of my absolute fave LGBTIQ plus authors. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it for now, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone.